And I have met people who claimed to be Satanists, who claimed to be involved with black magic, who claimed that they not only knew a lot about it, but as I said, I've certainly haven't been involved, and I warn all of you, never, never, never. You will not only lose your mind, you lose your soul.
The creatures here are primitive, but we do not harm them, for they are like children to us. We teach them all our secrets. I looked for him under a blood moon. Murder was in my heart.
Watika Maze Ukozo. The mirror smokes. From here he watches. I smell him in the darkness. Night axe and the flayed one running beside me. When the sun points the rod, sea becomes fire.
We are far from home, lost, never to return. Our signs are made, our beacons built, in the hope of a rescue that never comes.
I hear a voice inside my heart. The voice of the serpent says, use the firebird. I see the sun fall beside the moon. I
am a night axe. I cut off the head.
I know men who don't know anything in the world except who plays third base for the Mets. And they think that's a great accomplishment. And they meet and pat each other on the back and bond and go have cocktails and talk about what this guy that plays third base for the Mets did in last night's game. It's sad. It's really sad. When 150 of the most powerful men and women in the world can meet in secret in Baden-Baden, Germany, and plot the fate of billions, and nobody even cares about it. But 6 football players go to lunch together, and it's in the headlines across the country. You have a reflection of the society in which that exists. And it is a sick, sick society that is doomed to self-destruction. A nation of people who are willing to send their sons and daughters that they profess that they love to a foreign country to die. And they use the excuse to themselves that they're sending them off to defend our country, and they know damn well that's a lie, are doomed.
The mysterious and wonderful Comte de Saint-Germain appeared in the courts of France around 1743, claiming to have arrived from the mountain monasteries of Tibet, where he declared that he had lived with immortals. A friend to humanity, he tried to prevent the French Revolution, prophesying that France would suffer a deluge of blood unless the monarchy changed its cruel policies and treatment of the poor. But his warnings were ignored by the French aristocracy. The Comte wrote, "The time is fast approaching when imprudent France, surrounded by misfortune she might have spared herself, will call to mind such hell as Dante painted." Saint-Germain's high-degree masonry, his Templar and Rosicrucian connections, kept his enemies at bay until his arrest was called for by Maurepas in 1778. He vanished in front of the arresting officers, and from that time, claims of his immortality spread across Europe. He left a final message for his would-be captors. "My hands are tied by someone who is stronger than I am. I have only a limited time to give to France, and when that time has passed, I shall be seen again after 3 generations."
Number 1. In 1945, corporations paid 50% of federal taxes. Now they pay about 5%. Number 2. In 1900, 90% of Americans were self-employed. Now it's about 2%. The entire executive branch is hand-picked. 19 of the last 23 U.S. presidents have been members of the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is financed by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Did you ever ask what it's for? The surveillance, the police, the shoot-on-sight laws. Is that freedom? The more of us you kill, the more that secessionism lives in the hearts of the people. Ever wonder why big car companies pay 2% tax while the guys on the assembly line pay 40%?
The West, so afraid of strong government, now has no government, only financial power.
Our governments have limited power by design.
Rhetoric? You believe it? Don't you know where these slogans come from? Well-paid researchers. How do you say it? Think tanks? Funded by big businesses. What is that? A think tank? Privately funded propaganda. The Trilateral Commission in the United States, for instance.
Professor Carl Jung made his study of the human mind his life's work. He investigated the paranormal, shamanic magic, and the study of ufology, as well as symbology and the psychoanalytical interpretation of dreams. He regarded the ancient root memory of our ancestors as the key to understanding our primitive emotions, and the mythical similarities between the dragons, angels, demons, and fairies feared by our forebears.
Crowley was regarded in his day as the most dangerous man on earth. Crowley responded by naming himself the Great Beast, and his notorious sexual habits and magical practices soon earned him the infamy that he sought. He formed the Golden Dawn with MacGregor Mathers in 1924, gathering around him some of the literati of the day, including W.B. Yeats and Arthur Machen. In 1927, at Boleskine Lodge, Loch Ness, Crowley and Mathers performed a ritual in the top tower, summoning up a league of demons. So bad was this encounter that Mathers was left for dead, and Crowley disappeared and did not reappear for several days.
The stone. The fabulous stone, sometimes referred to as the treasure of the world. The legend tells that the stone was brought to Earth with 3 other sacred relics by a space messenger, and was then lost for 1,000 years. Some say that it was taken to the Tower of Shambhala in Tibet, where it conferred to its subjects the gift of immortality. Ancient chronicles from Asia claim that the inner heat of the stone was mightier than radium, but on a different plane, as it exerted a pull on the psychic level and could affect the holder's personality. This replica was made from the automatic drawings of Aleister Crowley at Boleskine Lodge in 1927.
By the hand of fate, what mysteries does this palm contain, hidden in the lifelines? Oh, Baphomet, what hand is this? This is the hand of a god! This is the relic hand of the giant Osiris, the last of the sons of God! Oh, priests, weep in this knowledge. What secrets have you burned in the library to keep this truth hidden? Above the heart line, betrayal. So much pain in here, though love above all else. For Isis, goddess of the moon, do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. Love is the law. The fate line starts. We crashed on this earth, far from home. Our signs made in the hope of rescue. The lifeline stops. What treachery is this? The conspirators meet the master of the temple. The firebird spits. Osiris the god falls wounded to the ground. Cut off his head, says Horus.
There is no secret, no conspiracy. Your assumptions were correct. There is no conspiratorial web, no plotting groups of masterminds hell-bent on the enslavement of humanity. There is only the ragged march of chaos. All the world in chaos. All hail Discordia!
Here she put me, a prisoner of the water. I am just a child, the last of my kind. The moon, insane in her anger and jealousy, kills our emperor. She steals all the secrets. She sends the killers, Night Axe and the Flaydorn. The firebird spits. The sun folds. Isis, he cries. Beacons are built in the hope of rescue. We look to the stars to take us home. I am Horus, keeper of the secret. I am Alpha and Omega, beginning and end. Release me, and I will give you the path to the drowned god. The sun waits for you there, where the last gave their blood. Choose Alpha and Omega, life or death.
I'd like to talk about some of your other remote viewings. Now, one in particular I'd like to discuss is you were tasked with remote viewing Mars, from what I understand. And the time period, I believe, was 1 million BC?
Yeah, 1 million BC.
Who was that directed by?
Well, when it was tasked, I was sleeping in the industrial cube, the sealed cube in Bob Monroe's lab at the Monroe Institute, because we had been working on going out of body and controlling it. And I was exhausted. So we've been working. This was Sunday, I think. And he woke me up, and I said, yeah, I'm awake. What's going on? He said, well, I have some people here from Department of the Army, and they have a target for you. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? He said, well, he said, I have an envelope here. There's nothing written on it. It's in my pocket. Tell me something about it. So it started out with a really large pyramid. And I said, first thing, words out of my mouth was, this must be a new discovery. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, because it's huge. It's bigger than the pyramid at Giza. Must be a new discovery somewhere. And then he said, well, tell me something about it. That's what I want to know. And so I said, it's got really large rooms inside. It's kind of surprising because the way pyramids are built, that can't be done. You can't have large rooms inside because of the weight of the construction. So it must be some new form of construction. So are you sure this is not a new discovery? And he said, just tell me what I need to know. So I said, well, it appears to be some form of protection of survivors of some cataclysm. And they're in stasis. They're waiting for somebody to come. I said, but I think it's too late. I think they're all dead. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, because I feel like the messages I'm getting are like leftover mental images, things that they pass differently from normal or something like that. So he asked me some other questions. He moved me around in the target and asked me some other questions and things. And it turned out there were 6 specific targets that I was given in that particular case. And all 6 of them I described exactly what was standing there. And when I say that, I mean what was also pictured in negatives by JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, California. And so I finally said, it's like a special race of people or something. I'm getting humans just like we are, but I'm not so sure they're humans like we understand human, because they're way bigger. So what do you mean? I said they're like 10 feet tall, really huge, but they're proportionately the same and very human-like. So I don't know what's going on here. I said, and the sun looks really weird. And he said, I don't care about the sun. Tell me more what's on the ground. So he was being a pretty good monitor at the time. And so we basically finished the whole line of it. And I came out. I said, what's going on? And I was introduced to these people. And the guy that had brought them was Fred Atwater, my old training officer. So this was, as far as I was concerned, was an active mission, because we were still doing remote viewing with the project. And so I said, so where is this? Is this a new discovery or something? And he says, well, Bob's got the envelope. It has a target identified in it. And Bob, oh yeah, I got it right here. And he pulled it out of his shirt pocket and was opened it up as an envelope. Nothing written on it. And so he opened up the envelope, and inside it said Mars, 1 million years BC. And I said, wow. I mean, what are you going to say? But everything that's actually on the ground, I described. There is what I decided to do was, the next time I was in California, I was going to go by JPL and get copies of the negatives, because somebody said, oh, that's all BS. And I said, no, I think they're pictures, specific pictures for the different GPS locations. See, these were all GPSs that they read to me while I was in the box. The GPSs, in my mind, were for Earth. I never heard of GPSs for another planet. It turns out every planet in our universe has got GPSs that match the Earth's, because they're all spherical, as well as the moons and everything else. So I didn't understand it to be off the Earth. I thought GPSs only worked on the Earth, so that's why I kept thinking it was a new discovery. But it turned out I went to JPL, and I walked up to the counter, and I had the actual card that had the GPSs written on it. 6 or 7 GPSs. I think there were 7, and I just didn't do the 7th because I was too tired. I worked on it for maybe an hour and a half, and I was tired anyway from working all day. So I walked up to the desk, and the guy said, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I understand all the pictures taken in space belong to the American people. And he said, of course they do. It's taxes paid for them. I said, okay, I'd like to see all the pictures for these GPSs. And he took one look at the card and said, "Oh, that's the old city on Mars." And opened the drawer and pulled out a packet and handed it to me. And inside the packet are all the negatives. And I blew up the negatives, and guess what's in my book? Everything I described. An old fort, pyramids, big impact crater with a road running through it. There's a road runs straight as an arrow for 1,200 kilometers on Mars that go right through the heart of a huge impact crater. And where the road comes through, you can see where the impact crater has been modified to let the road through one side and out the other. Now, here's the thing that made it real for me. The outer edges of the impact crater, they know how tall the edges are of the impact crater because there's a half-inch of shadow line around them. And they know the angle that the picture was taken and from where, and the sun's position and all that. So they can tell you that the half-inch of shadow line around the outside edge of the impact crater tells you that it's 3,000 feet high, the walls of the impact crater. That's not really a super high wall on an impact crater, but what they don't tell you, and it's shown in the picture, is in the upper rim edge of the impact crater is a little triangular piece sticks out on the side of the impact crater. That had to have been put there by somebody. It's a construct. It sticks straight out at a perfect 90-degree angle. It goes like that.
Is it part of the pyramid?
No. It's part of the wall of the impact crater. So you got an edge up here, 3,000 feet up, and there's a triangular piece that sticks out and goes back in. And on top of that is a pyramid. It looks like a pyramid because you're looking straight down on top of it. The shadow from that pyramid that you're looking straight down on top of is 2.5 inches out. Now, if the impact crater has a half-inch shadow and it's 3,000 feet tall, how tall do you think that 2.5-inch shadow is? It's up there. I said to the guy at JPL when he showed them to me, I looked at it. I said, "How tall do you figure this is?" And he said, "Really tall." And I said, "Well, okay, how did it get there?" It had to be put there after the impact crater hit. After that thing that made the impact crater had hit Mars. It couldn't have been put there before, because the impact would have
destroyed
it away. It's this thing is literally tens of thousands of feet tall. What the hell is it? And he said, well, a lot of people think it's a shard. It kind of grew there. And I went, I started laughing.
It grew.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure this thing grew there. But who built the support for it on the edge of the impact crater? Well, nobody knows about that. It's anybody's guess. So there's no doubt in my mind that what they're saying about this old city is true, because that's true. I mean, why? It's like I ask questions about it, and they just look at you like you're stupid and say, well, we don't know. Why did you take pictures of that area of Mars? We don't know. How do you think that got? Well, we don't know.
I mean, what is your thought process after that?
I happen to think the only aliens on our planet is us. And I have good reason to say that. I think we're the aliens on this planet because we don't give one rat's butt about this planet. We take and take and take whatever we want from it. We don't give a damn what happens to the climate, the planet, or anything else. we have shit so badly in our nest that you see people dying left and right of more and more cancers, and we got to go, I wonder why that's happening. It's stupidity. It's God almighty. But everybody wants to think we're the master race. We are human beings. We own the world. The Bible says, take control. Sounds apolitical to me. Maybe just a hint.
I mean, is that disturbing to you at all?
Very much so, yeah. Very much so. That everything on this planet, but human, cares about this planet. If a group of wolves, let's say wolves out of Alaska, if they run out of food and they can't hunt food anymore where they live, they kill off their young, they kill off their dead, they move to a place where they can find game that they can eat. Only the strong survives, but they do it to save their family unit. And they only kill and eat what they need to kill and eat. They don't do it out of savagery, and they don't do it because they're bad. They do it because they're in tune with the very world that they live in. They understand it. They operate within it. They do what's necessary to survive only. There isn't another animal on this planet that doesn't do the same thing, except for human beings. We just take what we want, and it doesn't matter what it does to the planet. And we just keep doing it over and over and over. And it's about power, money, influence in the governments of the planet, and it's a predominant reason for war. You know, it's what keeps the coffers filling up. It's part of how we can produce something that gives us lots of money back that we can enjoy. And all it costs is a little war here, a little war there. And you know you can't not buy more airplanes or tanks because it takes 12 states now to make a tank. That's 125,000 jobs that would disappear overnight if we didn't buy any new tanks. So you have Model 2, Model 3, brand new kind, bigger gun, you know, faster tracks, whatever. You know, we just keep reinventing reasons for that stuff. Why can't we decide to put everything back to normal and stop all the foolishness and pay people to do that? That seems to me to be a more realistic way to live on a finite planet where we're not going to kill ourselves or ruin it or in some way destroy the very thing that supports us. I think we came here because of something that happened on Mars. Were we the cause of it? Who knows?
Do you ever look more into previous viewings out of curiosity? Like perhaps
no, I can't. I can't do that. I can't target myself because then I know what I'm working on.
Makes sense.
There are things that I will work on where I know what it is I'm working on, but only because the answer is completely unknown to anyone. That might be I don't know, who broke into the big museum in Boston and ripped off 3 of the finest pieces of artwork ever stolen. And where did they go, and who owns them now? I happen to think they're in private collections, and they go into these vaults and sit in front of them once in a while and go, oh, I own it. Oh, you know, that kind of stuff. Stolen for a reason. that kind of thing. But I mean, I don't know. Is there some form of embedded base in that mountain? Probably. Is it well known? Probably not. If you were to try to seek that out in that mountain, would it be a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it could go either way, depending on what you find. Is it a specific kind of base? That's where I start getting into issues over what I say or don't say. I've been targeted on a lot of things, and this is part of a paper I gave at MUFON. When people target me on like a UFO, what they're really looking for is a remote viewing or a remote viewer that tells them there's an alien on board this ship and they're from Polygoglia star system or something. You're not going to get that from remote viewing. What you may get from remote viewing is, in this particular case, there's an entity on board. But I don't know what the hell they're doing, you know? Well, okay, do you interpret that as an alien? Well, it depends on what it is in actuality, or what it is they're doing, if you want to make that leap. The problem with all of this is people have certain assumptions going in. And if I'm doing a target for them and I give them the raw input that I'm giving them, sometimes they can interpret it their own way. And that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Other times, they just keep the parts that support their belief or their theory, and they discard the parts that don't support it, that kind of thing.
You're saying they manipulate the truth.
Well, they manipulate
take part of the truth,
feeling, certainly,
and leave other sections out. What did you experience?
What I did experience is there's some kind of a hidden base in Mount Hayes, and there's probably 3 different directions of getting to it, and there's probably something going on there that we need to know about. I'm talking about the pregnant we, the media we, wouldn't it be interesting to know what's going on there, that kind of we. In terms of it being actually aliens, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, because I think we're actually aliens, but I gave my reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to review the result to be able to tell you whether or not I even buy my own remote viewing. One of the problems with remote viewing is you don't know when you don't know. I don't know if that says much, but
well,
there's some things you come up with that you interpret badly, that you're wrong about in remote viewing.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're the only one that remote viewed Mount Hayes.
No, there's some others too. And it may be that I'm just confirming their viewing. I don't know. It depends on how it was presented to me at the time.
Do you remember anything about a small nuclear power plant?
Yeah, I do, in fact. That's like a 55-gallon drum buried in the ground. Maybe 160 feet down. They just take a tube, drop it in the bottom of the tube with 2 feeder cables coming out, and it produces power for 25,000 years or something. Goes inert, and it's buried in the ground 160 feet. In fact, I do know I remote viewed one of those once. More than once, actually. So that may be one of the ones where I did. And I said, we need these things for housing developments in the middle of nowhere. That would be a great power system for them. Wouldn't need any other infrastructure.
It sounded like you had also said something along the lines of on top of a dome, there was an emitter sending large amounts of energy into space.
I can't answer that. I don't remember.
Do you remember anything about Mount Zeal?
No, nothing at all about that.
Mount Perdido?
Perdido, that's in Spain?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember saying that Mount Perdido has a lot hidden in it because it's a mount where there's lots of, you know what a whiteout on a mountain is?
I do.
When you're on top of a mountain and the clouds come in, and if you take one more step, you don't know if it's going to be a short one or a long. Mount Perdido is one of those mountains. If you're ever on that mountain, it's like best to be careful because you can get whited out up there in a heartbeat. So there are some things that I think that are hidden about that mountain. I might have talked about that. I honestly, I can't remember this stuff now. It depends on who did the analysis and who put this together.
Okay.
And I'm trying to be fair here because I honestly don't remember what I said about some of these places, and I find it dangerous to consolidate stuff from multiple viewers because some of the viewers might not have been as qualified. I don't know. I just don't know.
Do you remember anything about, I'm going to butcher this name, Mount Nyangani?
It's in Africa, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Only that it's part of the Zulu Nation. There's a tribe there that guards that mountain. Doesn't like people going up or down the mountain. See, one of the problems here, since we've tweaked the radars on some of the Navy planes, they've been capturing the Tic Tacs. Tic Tacs actually go all the way back to Trinity when they set the bomb off at Trinity in the desert. That's when the first Tic Tac showed up. And that was a crash. I think it was 12 miles away from Trinity. But it was right after the bomb went off at Trinity, the test bomb. What they didn't tell people when they detonated that bomb, they didn't tell anybody that it was a nuclear weapon that went off. They told everybody in the area that it was a detonation of a huge ammo dump that the Army had been dumping stuff in for years. And that all the dust and crap in the air was from that ammo dump spontaneously going off. The problem is it spread radioactivity out for like 1,200 miles in one direction. It deposited significant radioactive material on top of something like 1,200 ranches where they raised cows and sheep and goats and chickens and pigs and all that stuff. People died prematurely in all those ranches from radiation poisoning. People who ate the animals died prematurely of radiation poisoning. They never told anybody the truth. And the problem with that is now we have things that are believed about that entire event that may or may not be true. Tic Tacs are kind of the same problem. I talked with to some degree with some people I know that are very much into the UFO field. And some of them say, yes, this in fact happened, that a Tic Tac crashed immediately afterwards. Well, it was a couple weeks later, after the bomb was detonated. And the radiation might have affected it. And this Tic Tac, by virtue of the way it was described by people who discovered it first, which were kids, long before the Army came in and spirited it away, their descriptions are good descriptions for something that was manufactured, not flown in from another world or flown in from even a place somewhere out in our solar system. It actually is an object that was manufactured. Its manufacture was extremely advanced. And the kids who stole stuff out of the walls of this after it crashed, it was like hair-like stuff came out of the walls. And it tingled when you held it in your hands. And if you took it out at night, it would glow in the dark. And it did so. It glowed in the dark for like 25 years. Because some of these kids that stole parts of this stuff were putting it on their Christmas trees for 25 years because it glowed in the dark. So that's not human manufacture. That's manufactured by somebody else. So it stands to reason that if Tic Tacs are being manufactured somewhere, it's probably on this planet because they're not able to travel into the vacuum of space. They're only able to travel high speeds on this planet. It may be that the people who manufacture the Tic Tacs live in certain areas on our planet that are unknown to us, because that's what they've done for thousands of years. It's our arrival that changed everything. So, what if these are the actual inhabitants of Earth from the very beginning? And we're not. We're the aliens. And we've come in and taken over the world. And now all they have to deal with us over is how to convince us that they are something that we're afraid of. Not in reality are they capable of doing anything to anybody. They're harmless. But they were able to avoid us for a long time with their Tic Tacs because of the speed, their ability to change direction in a 90-degree turn at high speeds, and their ability to go from air to water without making a splash, all that stuff. And so we're now predisposed to think that maybe these aliens, or whatever they are, have bases on our planet somewhere. Well, they may. These may be the very bases that we're talking about. I think if they do, then they're native to this planet. We're ultimately the invader. We're the ones who came in and just started taking things and taking it. And, oh yeah, and taking it. And, never stopped. It's a hard call to make. And so some of my suggestions, I'm pretty sure, have been slow down, use my remote viewing carefully, because you need to interpret it only as far as what it says, not implies. And I think a lot of people take my remote viewing and use it as it's implied, not as its actual limit, or what it says. And that's an aggravation for me, because it's an irritant, actually. It kind of makes me angry when they leap to a conclusion and come to the conclusion that's, I said A, so A plus 1 must be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm being clear.
No, I know, I do understand what you're saying. You're basically saying that people are making assumptions based off the information that you're providing to them.
Right.
Have you ever made your own assumptions off of your own information, or have you always had the discipline to just see it for what it is?
I try not to do that. It's hard not to, but I still try really hard not to. Because like I said, I'm the only viewer that came out of the remote viewing program and went straight into a lab.
Okay. I think we should clarify things here. Now, you're saying that aliens have infiltrated our government and are now running the country. Boy, that's some claim. Does the president know all about this? Yeah? I sure as hell never voted a little green man into office. Or should I say, little green president?
We have proof as far back as 1963 that the American military cut a deal with the Greys in return for certain technological advancements. There are certain secret classifications that not even the president is privy to. You'll find that President Clinton tried to open these classifications in his first meetings with the military on the Star Wars project. He found out that the weaponry was not aimed at the Soviets, but was aimed outwards to the stars.
Okay, so let me try to understand what you're saying here. Now, the Star Wars project, and that's not the movie we're talking about here, folks. The Star Wars project is still ongoing, despite the 1999 Trans-Global Peace Accord, which we all signed. And you're saying that the lasers are pointing outwards to the stars? So what? Are we at war with these guys?
Okay, look. We don't fully understand what they want from us.
How about our bodies? Or maybe they're only interested in our minds.
You're closer than you think on both counts. Well, we could just be their harvest.
They're here to help us? They don't hurt us. They're like doctors. They have feelings of kindness towards us. They feel like we do. They are coming, for they are legion.
Whoa, wait. This is getting out of hand here. We're gonna take a break now. We're gonna be right back, okay, with this nutcase.
Okay, thanks for that. We're talking aliens and the secret government, okay? Who's on line one?
Listen, I only got one thing to say on these so-called aliens.
We're listening, you're talking.
Oh, well, if they're so good, how come they ain't taking us over? And how come they keep crashing their UFOs?
Why don't you tell us, caller?
If they got all these things you say they got, then well, they could just wipe us out like that. What are they waiting for then? Well, I don't even believe in any of that shit.
Don't say shit on the radio, boy. You're on the air line 4. Do you believe in him?
Yeah, I do. An experience happened to me that made me believe. I worked for the Wackenhut division. Oh, can I say that on radio?
You just did.
I worked for them in the Four Corner area, you know, laying these lines.
Yeah.
There wasn't phone lines or cable. They didn't carry electricity or nothing. We didn't know what they were, and not even the engineers could say what those lines were for. And every night we saw these things like planes or jets.
Yeah.
Seemed to come out of the ground in the restricted area.
Right.
Lights moving in the sky at impossible speed. Some of the guys said that they'd worked on a tunnel they said was connected to an underground city. They said that they were carrying out experiments down there on animals and humans.
Right.
They got bodies of aliens and crashed UFOs, which they're trying to fly. And something called a Dreamgate that the Indians knew about.
It's not an ectosense. It's not even a neurophil. What's more, it contains no harmful additives or alkostems. Watermelon sugar, a refreshing pick-me-up that picks you up and keeps you up. Watermelon sugar, pure, simple. Nature's way of saying, we care about you.
We are coming, and we are legion. You can return to us in the tide of revelations. We will wait. We will see you again.
And when Horus found that Isis would not aid him betray Osiris, he plotted with his conspirators to kill our Lord. He took the firebird, the rod, and slew him. This is the first truth, and is the testimony of Baphomet. And a great cry went up to heaven when it was learned that our Lord was dead and would not walk in the garden again. Then brother fell on brother and fought like beasts and slew those they most loved. Even their wives and children were not spared the sword. Much blood was spilt to his name, and the suffering was terrible. So great was the love for Osiris. This is the last part of Genesis, the history of the people of Isis, the Nephilim. And the secret remains that men have kept the identity of the goddess hidden, though her signs are everywhere if you have eyes to see them. Here ends the first garden, though this paradise